Hey, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just looking, and it's been right at a year since I've done one of these, right? Oh, let me kind of echo for some reason. Let's see here. Awesome. All right, testing, testing. Okay, I had to echo for a sec. All right, so yeah, it's been a year since I've done one of these. I would love for y'all to give me a like as you come in here, and you can feel free to put in questions. Okay. Someone says, looking forward to this. Awesome, awesome. All right, let's see. So what we did, we've got some questions from the Patreon folks that I haven't gotten to yet. So I decided I would answer some of those here. And then we also have some questions that I had someone basically just pick at random from YouTube. So those will all just be, off the cuff. So I don't know what those questions are yet. We'll let a couple more folks get in here. Click the like button as you come in. Say hello. Say what's up, and we'll get rolling. All right. Let's see. Cool. All right. Let me get the questions pulled up. Y'all do tend to have really great questions. So I think this is going to be good. We'll start off with the question that came in from one of the Patreon members. This was in response to a video. This is one of my favorite series. It was one that we did that we shared called Creating a $1 Million Brain. And, I feel like this was a precursor to the thinking that's behind the chairman strategy, which is a lot of it is just, if you're learning the right strategies and tactics, then everywhere you go, everything you're involved in, you're going to be able to see opportunities to do deals and to basically extract a portion of the value that you create, leveraging all of the assets and resources of everyone around you. You just kind of, it's really cool. We were having the business acquisition intensive, and one of the things that some of the attendees said was we were wrapping up was like, I went from, just not seeing any of these opportunities because I didn't know they were there to now just realizing there's just an overabundance. Like it's literally everywhere you look, there are all of these opportunities that we can take advantage of that most people will just overlook. And it goes well beyond acquisitions. So the question that came from that training was, Ace, you make a great point. My goal is to be an investor on an international level. It's not close, but a bit similar to what Buffett said, which is when everyone is investing in be cautious, which is, one of the things what he's talking about is like Buffett talks about being aggressive when people are cautious and being cautious when everyone's aggressive. Do you have any advice on how to build a winning team? This is so crucial. And now I've got a lot of different teams and a lot of different deals, and it's spread out. It's a lot of fun because they're just different talents that are coming to the table, and now we have this very unique team structure, which is the chairman strategy, where we have graduates from Harvard, Yale, people that are currently working at NASA, Google, just everywhere. Like it's literally everywhere. And so all of these talented people are coming in. And so it depends what kind of team that you want to structure. Now, with the chairman, that's a very loose team. When I look at other deals that we're involved in, there's a very tight team. When we have a bookkeeping business that we're exiting, there'll be a specific team that's within that, and maybe someone who's overlooking it. So the first thing is like deciding on what your strategy is. And the really cool thing is within the chairman structure, each one of those chairmen have their own team. So, we have Keon, who just did his first 3 deals using the chairman strategies. And, the thing that he'll be doing is kind of building a team, which is going to leverage some of the assets that he already has. And so, we're having a call, I think, Wednesday to go over his strategy, which will involve the team strategy. So I would base your team strategy based on the deals that you're going to do. And so you've got that within the deal. And then you have just your team, which is the people that you do deals with. So I have a couple of accountants that I work with. I have a few attorneys that I work with. And you just build this team of people that you enjoy doing deals with. I've got one attorney that I've done a lot with in Florida, but we just started working with some people in Nova Scotia because we're doing the deal that's located there. That's the micro resort. So as we're putting that deal together, what's been really cool, but also a headache, has been finding and building relationships with attorneys in Nova Scotia and attorneys that have expertise for some of the laws there compared to the laws that obviously we're using some US-based entities. And so as you do each deal, you're expanding your network. I think we've got a question. I don't know if that made it on here or not. That came from a Patreon member that's in Tokyo, and they're trying to figure out how to leverage the chairman strategy and all that there. But as you do, and it's cool. I noticed it when it came up because I was just in Tokyo, as a lot of you who follow me know. And, obviously, as you do deals in all of these different places, you're building your network. We did the deal in the Acquisition HoldCo program on the hotel in Medellin. And so the partners that are in the program, we're always getting kind of updates and that kind of thing from people that are located in Medellin, that are the attorneys and the accountants and all that stuff. So with each deal you're building, your team is kind of the way you want to think about that. But feel free to follow up with any more specific questions. This is from Rochelle. She was responding to the Patreon training that is a chairman's training. So this is the chairman's playbook. It's the $20 million chairman strategy that a 17-year-old used. So we broke down that, and she had a question, maybe a couple questions. So her question was, so if I'm understanding this correctly, either forge relationships as its own business, that was the first thing. And then her second that she lists is position your existing business as a partnership opportunity for entities that can grow your revenue. I'm missing how this fits into the HoldCo strategy. Is the partnership arrangement itself more valuable than the individual business partners? And so I think this is interesting. And this is what we get into when you're combining because we have these two paths that we ended up allowing people to kind of split and go down the paths separately. Because once you're combining them, it's kind of another level of thinking, another level of strategy. The cool thing, though, the way I like to think about it, Rochelle, is that when you're leveraging the Acquisition HoldCo program and those strategies, you're building out your holding company. Each one of your special purpose vehicles that you're acquiring a deal and putting that into the SPV, that entity can basically do a couple of things to grow. One of the things it can grow is grow by acquisition. So as you know, that's aggressively what we pursue. We want to go after those, the acquisition, because that's the most simple path to growth. We can do all of the organic stuff, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. By the way, be sure y'all click like on the video. I haven't done one of these in forever, so this will help this get shared to some of the other subscribers. When you're not doing these things regularly, YouTube doesn't like to share it. So be sure to click the like button. You've got the strategy of just growth by acquisition. The second strategy is obviously organic growth, which we don't want to put a lot of money into because that money is at risk. If I'm going to put money into just, hey, let me grow this business by trying out some marketing strategy. The downside to that is maybe the marketing strategy doesn't work, as opposed, I have a lot higher chance of putting that money, even if it's into one of the media acquisitions. I'm much, much better off putting that into that type of acquisition and getting an ROI there than I am trying to go it the organic path. And then the final piece is leveraging the chairman strategy. So doing deals with other people who have assets, resources, they have databases of target clients. On the cost side, they have relationships with suppliers where you can just combine with them and lower your cost because of increased volume. So it's all of these strategies that you're able to leverage. Now, when you're doing those deals, when you have the HoldCo strategy structure, you want to put those deals into your special purpose vehicles, as we talk about strategically. So you're designing the HoldCo as a whole to be a business that you're going to easily be able to exit. And so when you take a step back and you're thinking about it from that perspective, you're deciding, okay, am I going to put this deal that is a strategic alliance, whatever the case is, into a separate SPV, or am I going to put it into the SPV of that deal? A lot of the times we're now making those their own businesses. So if you look at the chairman deal, that Rebecca's a great case because she's in the Acquisition HoldCo program, but her first deal was actually a chairman deal. We still put that deal into the special purpose vehicle because that's a massive deal, right? That's literally a deal with $1 billion corporations, Nordstrom's, and so with that deal, we want to put that into its own entity because eventually, whether she's selling that entity in and of itself or she's selling the overall HoldCo, she's got those options. Hopefully that helps. Let me know. Feel free to reach out and we can dig in a little bit more into that, especially if you have a specific deal. I'm happy to run through one of those. And then within the chairman, we've got we'll probably have time on the upcoming call to do Q&A. So be sure, if you're able to make it live, let's dig in and do some Q&A there. All right, this is the picture I remember from Tokyo. So he says, he's considering upgrading to chairman. And basically says, I have a little bit of experience with small business acquisitions. I'm assuming I'd be doing most of the business from Japan, but I wanted to ask if the concepts outlined in the program would still apply. I understand there are members from all over the world. There are from literally South Africa, London, a lot in Europe, but none in Tokyo. And want to know how someone overseas can take advantage of the community. So this is from Takayuki Ishii. Let me know if I got that right. So as you already mentioned, I mean, we definitely have members that are all over the world. It's most basic level. I think honestly, because of the aging population, which you're already familiar with, in Japan, there's a lot of these opportunities. And I think honestly, especially in a place like Japan, the tough thing is there's too many deals to take advantage of all of them. And so the great thing with doing these chairman style deals is that, the whole point is that we're not taking over the operations. We're staying away from dealing with the day-to-day management of the business. And so all of the structures that we go into are built around how can we leverage those assets, what they have access to in the business, and basically combine that with some of the rest of the ecosystem of deals that we've got within the chairman to monetize those. And so, there are cases where it's like, hey, I'm just going to shut this business down, but you have this one asset that I want to leverage, and I've got someone else that's within the chairman that has the other piece of that we're going to be able to put together. And so, I was mentioning Keon's deal. So in his deal, like, it's three different media or digital audiences that are highly targeted. It's like 7,000 people. And, basically with that audience, other people in the chairman club can find deals that can benefit from access to that audience, right? And you can structure a win-win type of relationship. And so essentially what we're building is kind of this worldwide group of people that understand the chairman strategies, understand how to create these win-win deal structures, and giving you access almost like a marketplace of these assets that you can go in and leverage. So short answer is absolutely. I mean, it's the reason that we made it a very low cost is so that you can get in and just see. It's not like the Acquisition HoldCo program where, it's a higher cost. So we want you to make sure, hey, we want to make sure this is a fit, and then you come in and all that. With the chairman, we know that this is a totally different way of thinking. It's too much for me to even go into here. You really have to go through that first month of all of the trainings to kind of get, okay, here's how this works. And so the reason we made that cost so low is so that you can just come in, go through the process, see what we're doing. And the really cool thing is that we're really just doing the deals together. So I would love to have someone who's in Japan, because we're actually doing deals that would greatly benefit from having a Asia-based representative. And we've got our next deal that we're going to close right this week. We just are putting together the leads that are going to participate in that one. So we just got a lot of deals that are already lined up that we're basically closing together. So would love to have you as a member. All right, let's mix in some of y'all's questions from YouTube. All right, this is FN Silly 8983. And you're asking a question from the private equity firm from Zero Capital step-by-step video. So the question was, can you start your own private equity firm for commercial real estate investing? I'm learning how to wholesale commercial real estate, but I want to learn to start legit and with the entity and a real business structure. So absolutely, you can start a private equity firm, and basically the firm would be focused around commercial real estate. And I would structure that, I would go ahead and create your kind of HoldCo entity. And that helps you when you're going and you're presenting yourself to potential sellers. And then as you do each entity, I would put those into an SPV. This is a great question, kind of a follow-up to Rochelle's question. I saw that pop up here in the chat here. So in general, if you're going out and you're doing these deals, the partnership agreement can add a lot of value to a holding company. And if you're aligning yourself with multiple businesses and you're putting it under that umbrella, what it's going to allow for is better leverage and synergies. And so I didn't make that clear when I was talking about her question. So the key is to basically form those deals and strategic alliances, whether, especially, as I was talking about how we're structuring the Chairman Club, you're structuring each one of those deals with businesses that complement each other and can scale efficiently. So the right partnerships and the right deals are going to increase the overall value of the whole co. The whole point of what we're doing is to look for an exit. Like, nothing we're doing is like, oh, I'm just going to make money off of this forever. The reason behind that is when you look at the wealthiest people in the world, they didn't make their money from income. They didn't make their money from cash flow. Jeff Bezos didn't get wealthy by, saving up money from making money from Amazon. Meanwhile, the average entrepreneur is like, they're really focused on cash flow. They're focused on trying to make as much money as they can from the business, when that's not how wealth is created. Jeff Bezos literally became a billionaire while Amazon was losing money. It had not made a penny of profit, and he was already a billionaire. And that's because of thinking about business from this level of the chairman level. Like, you've got to, even if you're the CEO of the business, you have to be playing at that level to create wealth. And so when we're building these holdcos, we've got deals where literally the business, from a the valuation that it would get just if it went to market might be literally 1/10 of what we're able to sell it for, because we're focused on who we're going to sell that to and how we can make it valuable to them. All right, let's go back. So that answered your question. King Willie 206 had a question. It was from the two high IQ hacks to make your first million in private equity. If you haven't checked out that video, definitely check that out. And he asks, well, I'm not broke. That's awesome to hear. And I have diverse experience in sales, business, and creative real estate closings. I want to start a private equity firm to acquire profitable businesses and eventually take them public. What do you suggest for those of us who have over 800 credit scores, significant assets, and access to a large amount of cash? I can personally deploy $500,000 in cash. However, I want to use OPM for obvious reasons, as you always should. I'm enrolling myself in Wharton and would like to actively be working on the fund while studying. So I love that. Wharton will be an amazing experience. There are certain schools, like a lot of people rag on going to college or doing those kind of studies. As I mentioned, one of the things I love, so we have one of the chairman members who recently graduated from Yale. And one of the benefits to going to Yale or Harvard, as one of the other members, you are, it's basically the people that you're meeting. So, in that case, he benefited from being around some folks. They did an amazing startup. It was just an amazing experience that came from being at Yale. And so if you're going to certain schools, if you're going to Wharton, if you're going to Harvard, going to Stanford, there's just certain schools that are worth going to if you're going to play in this world, because of the contacts that you're going to make. I mean, even Colgate, which is, a level below that, there were some great contacts that I made there. So as far as working on your fund, we've had a couple of people, a few folks that have reached out about this. We do have the private equity fund training that we're going to release again. I hadn't done this. I guess the last cohort that we did was last August. And we basically incubate funds, and so that you have this kind of step-by-step process. The problem with trying to start a fund, and basically my recommendation is, whether you're working with us and we're guiding you through creating your fund, or you're gonna go out and do it with someone else, you almost have to have a mentor. You have to have somebody that's guiding you through that process if you want to maximize what you're able to take out. So my first fund, I learned a lot as I was going through it. And now, like, I can put together a fund today that just is going to easily do a 300. Saw a post that one of my mentors, Oren Claff, who's out in San Diego, he wrote the book Pitch Anything. It's done, 50 billion in different deals and all that stuff. So really amazing guy, and learned a lot just spending time with him. But the cool thing he was talking about, like I had my max fund return was about 300%. So it's very easy for me to today create a fund and have it do 200, 300%. There are some pros and cons there. I really like doing, there's just pros and cons. And so I like to talk people through those, which, that would be more of a one-on-one we can talk through. But, he was talking about in his fund, it's just like, hey, here's why you can very easily just do a 400% return, which I've never done. It doesn't surprise me that he can, but people hear those returns, and it was funny. That's the first time that he's ever mentioned one of his funds returns publicly. And so I get a lot of people that are like 300%. That's just impossible. Da, 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 da. And there's just specific strategies. Like there's no reason for me to tell you publicly how we do it, but it was cool to see him share, his recent fund that did a 400% private equity type of return. So the benefit to that is using OPM. The really great thing is by doing it right the first time, you're going to be oversubscribed. So like the last time I did a fund, we had an initial amount because it was oversubscribed. We end up doubling that, and then we still went 20% above the double in the raise until I was just like, hey, like this is more than we planned on doing. It's already more than double. But once you're doing those kinds of returns, it's going to be very, very easy to pull in investors. So it's better to figure out how you can get that mentor, how you can just knock it out of the park on the first one, because it's going to be difficult on the first one, right? So you don't want to have to go through the pain of difficulty doing a raise on the first one, and then have to go through the difficulty on the next one because it was when you were just learning. So that would be my main suggestion. And, keep in mind, starting a private equity fund with significant assets always requires just careful planning. This isn't something that you're just doing frivolously. And so having the right advisors, having the right team goes to another level, even beyond what we were talking about when it came to the question about building your team for your acquisition holding company. And then just having a good understanding of the industry, having a good network of, your auditors, all that stuff, obviously a network of investors. And then, you will be investing, they want to see you put a big chunk, you mentioned the $500,000. So you would want to bring a hefty chunk of that to the fund as well. So those are some really neat things. I definitely think there's a huge opportunity for that, especially right now. Like this is because the returns have been so amazing and just outrageous in the stock market. That was one of the reasons that I haven't pushed this strategy, because it's just like, hey, even for me, it's like I just put money over here and it's just going to be more. And we have the strategy of selling options, and so that just has been so outrageous. And you still get the liquidity. The biggest downside to when you're raising capital is like people are like, okay, like I don't have liquidity here. Now that we're in this new market, there's two things. There's a lot of opportunities in the micro private equity side of things, and people are looking for alternatives a lot more aggressively. Next, we got my man, Nathan. Nathan is a chairman. He asked a question from the video, surprising truth of how I flipped two hedge. Speaking of funds, hey, we're talking about funds. So I flipped two hedge funds. So this is speaking of going over to the stock market, one of the things that we've been doing that I didn't realize, I hadn't looked at these questions, just so y'all know. So I didn't know that this was coming up. But what I was doing instead of the micro private equity funds was more of these kind of hedge fund things that we end up flipping. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. It is the high IQ snowball play with hedge funds. So shout out to Nathan. He is awesome. So I'm sure this will be a great question. He asks, this is a great idea and better than getting into insurance like Warren Buffett. Yeah, like some of you who are familiar with Warren Buffett's story will get that reference. For me, I'd like to sell the stock and get into the resort. Maybe he's talking about our resort deal, the deal I was mentioning earlier in Nova Scotia. Or maybe he's just talking about resort deals, but he says get into the resort. It gives more control and can increase the value faster than holding on to the stock. My plan would be to use some of the profit to get multifamily property and use some of the return to put into the stock. But better idea to put it into the business treasury than the property and back it into notes. My question would be, once you sell the business, if the treasury goes with you or if it stays in the business. All right, I didn't have to read all of that to get to this question, but that was good. Thanks, Nathan. I love how you're thinking there. So there's two ways you can do it. And we actually have a client who you may be familiar with, Ephraim, who is doing a deal. He's out in Texas. He's buying a business out of Colorado, and that business has like over 6 figures in cash. And so, he calls me up. He's like, hey, sometimes when you're going through the Acquisition HoldCo training, it's like we talk about a lot of different things. And so he's like, man, I feel like I remember you saying that you could actually just buy the money that's in the business, and it's beneficial for the seller, obviously beneficial for me because I get that money. And I was like, yes, you're exactly right. He's like, all right, I got a deal and I want to do that. So we went over how to structure that. And, the cool thing is he's actually a CPA. And so I got to go through like, here's how you sell the seller on that, right? It's actually because of taxes being at a certain level, if they're selling their business and selling the money with the business is at a higher level if they're just taking that money as income. And so you can structure an LOI where you basically show them, hey, you might as well give me this money. Here, it's better for you to give me the cash that's in your bank account. And well, I'm in the middle of this. This is valuable information, by the way. And guess how much it's going to cost you? A like. So if you're here, definitely hit the like button. This was hundreds of thousands of dollars that he was able to get in this deal, and meant basically no money down. So pay your dues, guys. If all you have to pay for good stuff is a like, as I say over here on my channel, we save money. We don't save up our likes. So when you're buying these deals, there are folks that will, that have just a bunch of cash in there, and so you can structure so you're basically buying that cash, and then it's beneficial for you. And this is one of the funny things, people are like, oh, like, are you taking advantage of people when you do these seller finance deals and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, like I want to sell finance because it's beneficial. It just is literally a win-win, right? So that is how you think about it on the sales side. Then when you're selling businesses, working with the person, it can be beneficial for you. So, we've got a deal that we just did with an Acquisition HoldCo, some members that we basically put together. We bought a business. The business has or had about $250,000 in the bank maybe 230. It was about $235,000 that we got when we did the deal. Then it grew and it went up to like 250 at one point, then went down to like, the market's just been crazy. So it went down to like 210 and then it went up to 270. And now I think it's back around where we bought it. But the cool thing was, like we closed this deal like that. That was just money that we essentially bought. So it was, we got more money than the cash that we had to bring to closing. Like we literally got more capital, right? So those are beautiful, beautiful deals that not only can you do, but if you're in our Acquisition HoldCo, we helped those amazing ladies do that deal, right? Is that not cool, guys? All right, we got Mr. Brian Herman. He asked a question on the video. The secret financial engineering hack I used, 7x a small business's value. Definitely check that video out. That was a fun one to chat with you guys about. He says, you closed down the chairman program. When are you going to open it back up? We just opened it back up. And so you can join that. And now it's even better. We've got deals in the ecosystem. We got things you can leverage. We're closing deals. I'm bringing deals to the table. It's way better now because I'm literally giving equity to the whole group, not just the leads that come from the group. So it has gotten really cool. Definitely join. When you join, check out the recording of the most recent webinar because I go into some more of these really cool details. I do, it is open in certain intervals. So that's what we was talking about, just based on demand and availability for each person that joins. Like I literally do a intake call with them and we kind of map out their strategy together. And, it's a whole process. So if you do see that it's closed, just keep an eye out for announcements when it'll be available. And we're more than happy to have you. All right. Adini asks on the video, turning 100K to 10 million. And this is something we're definitely getting aggressive with. A lot of you know we've got this challenge right now to build the current chairman ecosystem to $100 million valuation. So some of the strategies that are in that video are things that we're leveraging in that. We'll take a sip of water. Let's see. So they ask, do you get to do business in Canada or is it US only? No, I'm closing a deal. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I have a DocuSign right now that I did not do today because it's been a busy day. And probably my partner on that deal is probably going to see that I'm on live. It's like, dude, what are you doing with these people? Sign the deal. Let's get this deal closed. This is the battle. I don't do this as much as I would love to. But yeah, lots of opportunity. We've just done multiple deals over the years in Canada. That's a lot easier when we definitely have a lot more examples of deals closed than the Japan deals. So hopefully we can change that with my man in Tokyo. All right, Adam Trail asked a question from the video. The guru's big lie about acquisitions. Says, hi Ace, thanks for getting back. I think a really good video idea is to cover the routes generally available to new graduates coming out of school into private equity, and always and the ways they can successfully get the capital they need to start a fund. This is another fund. I think you guys are ready for us to do some more training again on building your own fund, and do it around acquiring these small, boring businesses, all while being timely with operations. I'd rather work for a firm 15 years to make good money than start this project to break even. I really think you have great information on the PE industry and what it can do. I think this channel could be really huge, especially because I put questions. That was not a question. But thank you, Adam. I do appreciate you. I guess the question was maybe around graduation. You're right. Okay, so the question was around what new graduates could do. I talked a little bit about this before. You want to find someone who has some experience in the space. You could join like you're able to like join a firm like a Goldman Sachs would be amazing experience, learn the ropes. But the most important thing is starting to build some relationships within the industry with folks that have been in this space for a long time. That would be my number one. All right, so we'll stop there for this one. I'll definitely be back and do more of these. I love getting to your questions. Let's see. I'll do some of the ones in the chat. And what I'll say is after this video, put it in the comments. And then, because basically I'm catching up on all their questions. So, if I don't get to it here, definitely put your questions in the actual comments once this video is put on YouTube. All right. Tirius I would say Tirius says, can you please go more in depth on how you combine spirituality with your deal making acumen to gain an edge in the M&A space? Please don't hold back. Well, I will more have to hold back just for time's sake. But I'm just a believer in when it comes to spirituality, like it's an advantage in everything. So whether it's M&A, it's just whatever you're doing. I think the more that you're in tune, and this is something, if people are interested, I can do a full video on. But I think the more that you're in tune with the way the world really works, I think, like when I think about spirituality, just at the most basic level, I don't think about it as the sense of like, oh, there's like a God up in the heavens and he's like looking down on us and, we can spiritually connect with him. I think if you believe in God, then you naturally believe that he is everywhere. He's omnipotent. It's everything. And so it's a very interesting thing. I think that goes back in history to the point of the church versus science. And so there's always been this weird thing that like science is against the church. And the reality is that like if you believe in God, then God is science, right? Like God is the atoms. It's just everything. It's everything that we're made up of. And so you start with that foundation. And then when you understand that, like, as a human, there's like an aura, there's an energy, like when you understand atoms are just energy, to me, basically spirituality is just understanding energy. And, I would recommend the book, Power, Not Force, or Force Not Power, or maybe it's Force versus Power. It's been a while since I've read it, but that's an amazing book to kind of, it combines, I would probably read that while reading, Eckhart Tolle's, Power of Now. And, I think when you have those in combination, it puts together a little bit of like some of the things that I think when it comes to spirituality. But I almost don't even talk about it from a sense of spirituality. It's just like, it is reality. It's just like, it is what we're made of. It is the energy of everything that is going on and just the connection of everything. And I've just found for me when it comes to M&A, but when it comes to anything, when it comes to M&A, the more in tune I am with that, the more, just intuitive signals that I get when it comes to which deals do, which deals not to do, just fortuitous types of things end up happening where things just fall in my lap that I cannot explain any other way than kind of being in tune with those things. So yeah, would love to do a video on that. Definitely let me know in the comments if that's something that y'all would like me to actually do a full video on. You mentioned in one of the resources that Andrew from Good Merger sent me, it's a profitable business that's older than you is a green flag. Absolutely a major green flag. Wouldn't this make Japan a gold mine due to the aging population? Absolutely. That's kind of what's one of the things. Like I think it's absolutely a gold mine for the Chapman strategy, for the Acquisition HoldCo strategy. So looking forward to hopefully getting to work in that market. Vicky says, market maker here. Happy to meet you. from Canada. Awesome. What is up? Welcome, Vicky. What's the difference between the Good Merger program and the introductory level in chairman? Those are all very, very different. So I would say if you're interested in becoming a merger specialist with Good Merger, reach out. We can send you basically the details on that, and you'll get to see like it's totally different, obviously, than the chairman program. So yeah, I would just take a look at both of those and see which one is a match. So if you go to goodmerger.com, just say, express your interest. We'll send you over the details of what it's like to work with us in Good Merger. And the first quarter was absolutely amazing. They did great work. Shout out to Jay, just absolutely killing it. Andrew just today got an LOI signed with the client. Letitia's been doing really amazing on the buy side. Just some really cool stuff, some really cool deals. Welcome to our newest merger specialist, Johan, who I love the fact he's based out in Ukraine. So I think there's going to actually be some amazing opportunities in the Ukraine coming up soon. So yes, would love to have you check out both and see which one is a better fit for you. Yash Sa says, what are your thoughts on India? I've not done much in India. I've done a deal in Pakistan, believe it or not, which turned out to be, it was such an amazing thing because the guy was a young guy and he was built this really great business. We did a deal. And the really unfortunate thing was like, it wasn't that much money, but we like sent him money and like the bank in Pakistan literally would not give him the money because they were just like, there's no way that like you are supposed to have this money. And, like there's just the caste system and all this stuff. I just think sometimes it's unfortunate. Like once you get a peek into some of these countries that have this, like, it's not even, I don't know, it's really just classism. I was about to call it racism, but, it's like, it's very difficult for you to start poor and then become wealthy. And so places like that become difficult to make money. Appreciate if you're in I was going to say the West, it's like even the East, places like, I've got friends that own businesses in Thailand and do amazing stuff in Bali, and have a friend that has a hotel in Bali. Just like we've got business in South America. Like almost in a lot of these places, it's just a lot easier to build a business. A great book. There are two that I would recommend reading for insight into doing business in Asia. And they're actually fiction, but one is White Tiger. That one may be based on a real guy, but some of it is fiction. And then there's another one, Getting Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, something like that. But those are two books to read of like what it means to kind of just start and when you're going up against that kind of caste system. All right, great. See, y'all are so smart and amazing, man. I just want to say I really appreciate, and that's been the coolest thing with the chairman's right. It's just like I said, just absolutely amazing, brilliant people. And I love that we can have a deeper conversation here, that we don't have to do the typical YouTube crap of just like, it's like candy, sweetener and artificial madness that fills up YouTube. So I definitely do appreciate you guys. So I'm gonna make an effort to make sure I get back and do more of these. Originally, I was going to set up my HoldCo in Seychelles. Awesome, due to low cost and zero tax benefit. You're Canadian, so you get that. I was about to say, like, if you're American, that doesn't matter. Thanks for including that you're Canadian. How important is the country you set your HoldCo in to pay the least amount of tax? So for Canadians, I actually really like Belize. I won't get into that, and I'm also not going to give advice. Also, don't forget to hit the likes as we go through a lot of this good info. But definitely on a one-to-one basis, we can talk more that. Yeah, Canada's representing. Vicky's also from Canada. And SJ, what's up? Says, hey, it's wonderful to be here and thank you for sharing all that you do. I certainly appreciate that. It says, I have the way for you to be able to sell business over to the other group and do it in a taxation-free environment. Let me know what you're up to. Lo says, love the comparison. Any suggestion on how to come up with the money for due diligence and down payment on a deal? There are so many. There's so many. When it depends on the deal that you're working on. When we're doing training, we just had our business acquisition intensive. Like we literally go there's like 150 forms of financing that we go through. The cool thing is like there's just endless number of deals. But the number one that I would be going after is definitely seller financing. And if the seller isn't willing to offer any seller financing and you just don't have any cash, then I would get aggressive on the deal flow side of things. The other is, if you're at a point where you don't have much money, this goes back to the individual that does have a substantial wealth. When you're on the poor end, you want to be very aggressive and just borrow. I would be getting SBA, those kind of things. Once you have a lot of assets, then you don't want to go SBA because they put a lien against all of your stuff. So if you don't have any capital, then I would be looking at that. We've got a guy who's going to do, and it's not to say, but we talk freely here. I'm not calling anybody poor. I'm saying like if you don't have a lot that you're worried about losing, I did my first, 3 or 4 deals. I was doing like SBA. I was doing very aggressive. Oh, one of the questions that I was going to answer was the question of doing cash out at closing. So I would do cash. I was like the most aggressive, right? I was doing massive cash out, doing SBA, doing seller financing, over financing so that I could get that capital. And so you want to be really aggressive when you're first getting started. And that's what gets you the capital. And it's like, the worst case, I was in my 20s. It was like worst case. And it wasn't like it was just easy. I talked about the home investor deal where the real estate market in 2008, I was literally 28. I had some seller financing and some deals, and it was a wreck. And man, like the mental exercise of having to go through, like when you're up against the wall and, literally my partner who was in the same situation filed bankruptcy. And I'm like, no, I refuse to file bankruptcy. I'm just going to fight this thing through. People tell those kinds of stories, but when you're in it, it makes you a lot stronger. It makes you realize like, oh, I can take on anything. Going back to kind of the spirituality talk, just like getting to that place of like, if I am energetically in the right place, like I can do anything. There's just nothing that I can't do. Hence our $100 million ecosystem in the Chairman Club. All right. I'm going way longer than I thought. Y'all are asking good stuff. Jeff Trey says, hello, I'm a very big fan of your content. What advice would you give to a young new entrepreneur in the PE space? Also, what are your thoughts on SMB roll-ups using seller financing? So I think, when you're young, it's the advantage of literally what I just talked about. You could take a bunch of risk and it's just not a big deal. As you get older, 2 things happen. You have more to lose and you have way less time to make it back. And so I would be very aggressive from a few standpoints. Number one is I would be aggressively getting knowledge. Like there's just nothing that compares to getting these skill sets and getting them young so that you can start to practice them. Like a lot of people are like, oh, like I'm gonna just get certain skill sets, take certain courses, learn things over a long period of time. It's like, no, like the more that you can say, hey, all the capital that I get right now just gets into me learning everything that I possibly can while also executing on it. And that's just the most important thing because that's going to, I benefit from the fact that for the last 25 years, I just have done one thing. buying businesses, right? And so there's just nothing like just like there's just nothing I haven't seen at this point. So starting really young and getting as much knowledge as you can. The biggest downside, man, if I had what y'all have now of like people like me who've already done it that are willing to teach you, like that's just unreal. I had one mentor that I didn't have until I'd been doing stuff for 6 years. And so all of those 6 years was basically, I say it's walking in the dark, bumping into things, and then having to start back over and walk and like have to remember, okay, don't bump into the thing that happened to be there. It's had no map. There weren't books. There wasn't YouTube. Like not even like there weren't those YouTube. The YouTube did not exist. So there's just all of those things. And so you're at such a huge advantage to be able to start young and get really, really good at this stuff. And so I would be learning as much as possible and then just taking like all of the risks. And what you mentioned with you have the time to get really good at deal flow and then find deals that you're going to be able to sell finance, as you mentioned. Great stuff, Jeff, and welcome. I'm glad you're a part of the community. Ike says, thanks, Ace. This is my dream opportunity. Yes, sir. It's amazing time. It's amazing time to be alive. It's absolutely incredible. Like we can buy these businesses, we can leverage AI, robotics is coming. Like it's just, we have this perfect storm of like the baby boomers needing to sell everything. You look at, what we're just talking about in Japan, like for some of you, it may be worth you just going to Japan to take advantage of this. Travel is easier than ever. We're in an amazing time. Like look at what it would have been like if you were born 50 years ago. And just understand, or not born 50 years, if you were like, born 100 years ago and, or the age that you are now after that, like it would have been a totally different game. Where was you have a nice tone and come back. I will, awesome. Or we'll participate again. Awesome. Well, glad to have you. LNT Capital says, hey, Vicky, nice to see you again. Yes, always on the markets. Cool. Good deal. Says, I will definitely save and share this channel, as should all of you. Definitely hit the like button as you bounce out. Hit share. Share this with your Instagram or your Twitter or whoever you think could benefit from this knowledge. And I will be back with y'all. Feel free to put questions that you want me to go over in the comments. Also, definitely join us in the Chairman Club. We want people that are aggressively going out and doing deals as part of the club. And if you're interested in building an acquisition holding company, reach out and we'll tell you more about our Acquisition HoldCo program, which we are in the middle of starting a new cohort, which is really exciting. All right. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining.